Is that an iPhone or an Android?
What?
Is that an Android or an iPhone?
It's an iPhone. But this is the,
Is that an app?
yeah, it's an app from Honky.
Oh,
Watch people, if you're into watches.
interesting. Yeah, I was wondering what that was.
It's the, yeah, Honky. It's a Hodinke, Hodinke, Hodinke.
Mike's on pause.
Okay.
He's just talking about watches.
We want to talk about watches, you know. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the November 6th meeting of the Skokie Plan Commission. Glad you're all here tonight. First order of business is to take the attendance. Let's see who gets a gold star tonight. All right. Commissioner Speyer.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Black.
Here.
Commissioner Scott Berman.
Here.
Commissioner Franklin will be absent tonight due to illness. Commissioner Gibiyahu.
Here.
Commissioner Witry.
Here.
Commissioner Jeff Berman.
Here.
Commissioner Matei is absent. Yeah, how about that? And I'm here. Okay, and we do have a quorum. Thank you. Let me turn this off. The sound is. I'm sorry, excuse me. Next order of business is approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, a second?
Second.
Any additions or corrections to the minutes? None? All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Thank you. Minutes have been approved, thank you. In the entry, under old business, we have a presentation from McDonald's Corp. For cases 2025-07 and 2025-0P. And that's at 5360 Touhy Avenue. Jose?
How are you doing? Good evening, Commissioners and Chairman Luke. This evening I'll be providing a brief update on a previously approved case for McDonald's USA LLC located at 5360 Touhy Avenue. The Plan Commission approved requests for site plan approval and a special use permit to allow the demolition and reconstruction of the McDonald's restaurant with 2 drive-through lanes. These cases were approved at the May 15th, 2025 meeting by a vote of 6 ayes, 0 nays, and 2 absences. Since that time, McDonald's Corporate has made minor revisions to the approved plans. These updates are intended to reflect the company's current design standards, improve operational efficiency, and enhance overall site functionality. The project is scheduled to appear before the Appearance Commission on November 12, 2025. There are no proposed changes to the building footprint, parking layout, or site circulation. The primary revisions include 1, updates to the building design and materials. 2, removal of the solar canopies from the northern parking spaces. And solar panels are now proposed on the roof of the building. 3, relocation of the transformer to the northeast corner of the building behind the drive-through order kiosk. And 4, the addition of a second door and sidewalk at the south entrance. These revisions are being presented to the Plan Commission for transparency, and no action is required this evening. Staff continues to support the project as the revised plans remain consistent with all applicable provisions of the Village Code and conform to all zoning requirements. The petitioner is here this evening to provide additional details regarding the noted changes and to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, just a minute. Staff, questions of the staff. I'm going to start with, take questions from my left here. Any questions? No. And on my right.
Could you or the petitioner show us individually what those changes are?
Yeah, I'm sure the petitioner will speak on those shortly.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions of the staff by the commission? Okay, thank you, Jose. We'll have the
Thank you.
representatives from McDonald, if they want to come up. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you coming tonight to bring us up to date on the revisions.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Jim Olguin, and I'm the zoning attorney for McDonald's. And the reason that we wanted to come by, even though we're not really making any material changes to the site, it's been a while since we were before you, and there are slight differences. So we, out of respect for the process and the fact that we were here previously, we wanted to give you a quick update. So, Commissioner, to answer your question, in terms of what changes are being made to the site plan, what we've done is we've bubbled the 3 items that are being changed in red. So let me start at the top portion of the site plan. What is being bubbled are the parking spaces along there. Originally, what was proposed at the site at that location was parking, but we were going to have solar canopies over that parking area. What we decided to do is to relocate those solar panels from over the parking area and place them on the building. It provides us better efficiency, and it's also going to be less of an impact to our neighbor to the north. So, that was just a minor change of making the solar more centrally located at the building itself. The next one, a little bit lower, is just behind the building. We used to have a concrete pad for mechanicals. We don't need that, so this is actually going to be enhancements. So we're going to be adding additional landscaping in that area. So once again, just kind of a minor change that was based on when we looked at from an operational standpoint, we weren't going to need that. So we're just going to add some additional landscaping at that location. And then finally, at the front of the building where the entrance is, we're just adding an additional door for better access for our patrons that are going to be coming on site. So those are the 3 changes that we're making to the site. Once again, they're all fairly minor, but nevertheless, we wanted to come by and let you know that those changes were being made.
Thank you.
And,
Entertain questions. I'll take questions from my right here.
What were the mechanicals that were to previously exist, and why is that no longer needed?
Sure. I believe what we're doing is we're putting some of them on the roof. And in terms of what exactly mechanicals, Dan, do you recall what was going to be placed there?
Just the standard rooftop unit.
Could you come up to,
Maybe I can go ahead and answer.
Okay.
They were just what you would typically see on the rooftop was going to be placed on that pad. So now, since we redesigned the building a bit, we're now able to put those back on top of the roof. So we no longer need that space for those equipment.
And they will be hidden by the same screens that you described to us in May. There will be screening on the roof to screen what other mechanicals were there. Now with additional mechanicals, they'll still be screened by the same screening.
Yeah, from the prior meeting, the building elevations have changed from what was previously shown to you at that meeting. So in terms of screening, the village code requires some level of mechanical screening, and so we, part of what we're going to be proposing to the Appearance Review Commission is, just noting that, from there is going to be, based on the way that they're going to be oriented and located, that from the various spots on the property, that they are screened from view. But it's different than what you saw because the design is different.
And then the other question is that the solar panels that were going to be on a canopy over the north parking spaces, you described that was you're moving them to the roof, not only for operational efficiency, but also to not impact the neighbor to the north. How were the solar panels going to impact the neighbor to the north?
It's more just from a visual standpoint than anything else. There wasn't going to be anything negative that's going to, that there was going to any reflection or anything like that. It was more just from a visual. We were going to have a canopy there, and that was going to be along their property line. So by eliminating that, we removed that visual item from their view.
Great. And then one last thing, and that is I like the idea of adding the extra door on the south end. The more that we can visualize the front of the building and the service area of the building for customers to Touhy Avenue is the better. It is better for us to have more visual impact for the customer on Touhy. Thanks.
okay. Any further questions for commissioners on my right here? None? Anybody on the left side? Yes, Commissioner. Yeah, that's right.
Good evening. This is for my information only, and I was not on the commission when this was decided. As a patron of your restaurant, how long between demolition and the grand reopening? About? Tough question.
About 150 days.
160 days
Okay.
from, yeah.
From demolition.
So now I have to go to Dempster Street, correct?
That's what
Thank
I'm
you.
concerned about. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will open the floor to anyone who has a question about the McDonald's case. None? Okay, thank you. Since this doesn't need any approval or further approval from the board, I thank you very much for enlightening us tonight. And I guess this will go before the board sometime in the future, of course, and they meet on the first and third Monday of every month, except if it's a holiday, okay? You'll be fun, thank you very much, and I'm glad you're doing this. I'm looking forward to seeing a brighter McDonald's there. Thank you. Okay, moving on, we have cases, let's see. Where are we? I'm sorry, I just lost my place. Next case tonight is cases 2025, oh, there we go, okay, 2025 04P, 05P, and 20P, and these cases are all related for the site at 7952 Lincoln Avenue. Jose?
Chairperson Luke, I will actually
Oh,
be presenting the
you will be.
case
Okay,
from the
thank you.
dais
Yes.
with Jose's assistance. So we'll get started. So, good evening, Chairperson Luke and Commissioners. I request that the staff report be accepted into the record with one correction to the information as presented. The correct number of off-street parking spaces provided on site are 71 parking spaces and 1 loading zone.
Okay, thank you, and your request is approved.
Thank you. The cases that are before you this evening, 2025-04P, site plan approval, 2025-05P, two-lot subdivision, and 2025-20P, proportionate exception, special use, relate to the planned development proposed for 7952 Lincoln Avenue. The petitioner is requesting site plan approval for a two-lot planned development that includes a new 6-story mixed-use building that contains 58 residential units and a first-floor commercial space, an expansion of the existing commercial building to include a restaurant and a child and youth services use through a proportionate exception special use request. This site plan approval for planned development also includes stormwater and other infrastructure improvements. A public hearing for the planned development first occurred on April 17th, 2025, and the matter received a unanimous favorable recommendation. At that time, the proposal came forward as a one-lot subdivision, and 7 outstanding items were noted that required resolution prior to the case moving ahead to the village board. The items were resolved in advance of the August 4th, 2025 village board meeting. In the time between the Plan Commission public hearing and the scheduling of first reading at the village board, the petitioner communicated his intent to create a two-lot subdivision within the planned development, 1 lot for the mixed-use residential building and 1 lot for the expanded commercial space. With limited information and understanding of the subdivision and proposed ownership structure at that time, and with interest in accelerating the timeline for the development of the multifamily portion of the project, the village board remanded the cases back to the Plan Commission. In April 2025, the Plan Commission recommendation came with the condition that the residential portion be completed in 7 years. The 7952 Lincoln Avenue site is located in the heart of Skokie's downtown, and strong concern has been raised about the extended period of disruption this time frame would entitle. The conditions in the current staff report speak directly to project efficiency in the public best interest. The cases before you for consideration at this meeting reflect the most current submittals and also the facade and landscaping, which received a certificate of appropriateness from the Appearance Commission on May 14th, 2025. At the direction of Corporation Counsel, the Plan Commission is now giving consideration to approval of the Child and Youth Services as a proportionate exception under a unique special use request, case 2025-20P. The information on this slide represents the accurate parking requirements and the off-street parking provided on-site. As allowed by code in mixed-use districts, the petitioner has presented 3 locations to facilitate shared parking agreements to satisfy the overall off-street parking requirement for the planned development. 71 parking spaces will be provided on-site, and 63 parking spaces will be off-site under 3 agreements. The total number of 134 parking spaces satisfies the required 104 parking spaces. The petitioner is requesting a re-subdivision of 3 lots into 2 lots, which includes a dedication of varying widths of Lincoln Avenue right-of-way to IDOT. The intent of the 2-lot subdivision is to structure ownership, financing, and development responsibilities of the 2 parcels, and a joint venture partner was noted in a recent submittal from the petitioner. Staff recommends that the petitioner's request for a site plan approval be approved, subject to the recommended conditions and proposed findings of fact. The petitioner shall develop the subject property in substantial conformance with the final village-approved site plans, landscape plans, engineering plans, and building elevations. The proposed development shall have a minimum of 41 off-street parking, vehicle parking spaces, including 5 accessible parking spaces. I'm sorry, 71.
Yes, I was looking at that again.
Just talked about that. Thank you all. I'll repeat that. The proposed development shall have a minimum of 71 off-street parking spaces, including 5 accessible parking spaces, and a minimum of 12 bicycle parking spaces as indicated on the site plan. Final approved plans must include a minimum internal sidewalk width of 5 feet. 5% of actual housing units are to be reserved for leasing for at least 25 years in accordance with the affordable housing requirements of the Village Code, and will be comprised of the following housing mix: 1 one-bedroom unit and 1 two-bedroom unit at 80% AMI, annual median income, and 1 three-bedroom unit at 60% AMI. Prior to the issuance of any and all permits, the petitioner shall submit recorded covenants of all off-site parking agreements related to required parking and in consideration of valet parking in accordance with Section 118-207 of the Code, to be included as attachments with the Plan Development Ordinance. As applying the proportionate exception rule is intrinsically related to the full build-out of the plan development, permit applications are expected to be submitted for all components of the plan development project within 6 months of approval of the plan development, or when a certificate of occupancy is sought for Action Behavior Center, whichever occurs first. No certificate of occupancy shall be issued without submission of all permit documents for the new mixed-use 6-story building. Evie, I don't know if I'm going to get this right, so I apologize in advance. Estatorio shall be open to the public and operating within 9 months of approval of the planned development by the village board. The certificate of occupancy for Action Behavior Center shall be revoked if this condition is not met. The residential portion of the project must be constructed and certificates of occupancy must be issued within 2 years or 24 months of village board approval, or the certificate of occupancy is revoked and Action Behavior Center must leave.
Okay.
Any future use of the space to be occupied by Action Behavior Center under the proportionate exception must be a permitted or special use and shall not be replaced by another prohibited ground floor use on a retail street if the current proposed use, ABC, ceases operations for any amount of time. Action Behavior Centers will be allowed to use the use of window treatments solely to mitigate sunlight in the 2 windows adjacent to the therapy gym during related times of peak sunlight. During other times, failure to maintain street-level visibility in accordance with additional building requirements on retail streets, Section 118-184C, shall be cause for the village to initiate hearings to determine whether the subject ordinance as well as any applicable business licenses should be revised or revoked. The petitioner shall submit to the village 90 days in advance and receive approval for any programmed use of the Flex outdoor public amenity space. Trash recycling and composting will be required at all buildings for all uses within the planned development. Prior to the issuance of temporary or final certificates of occupancy, the petitioner shall provide the village with copies of active scavenger recycling and composting and snow removal contracts that provide for the terms enumerated in the site plan approval application. At the time of a service or change, the petitioner will provide the village the updated contract information within 30 days of such change. Trash shall only be allowed within designated trash enclosures and shall be screened from public view in an enclosure approved by the Appearance Commission. All refuse shall be contained in such a way as to remain out of sight at all times. The expansion of the existing proportionate exception will require full review by the Plan Commission and Village Board and will not be eligible for a modified review. The subject site must remain in good financial standing with the village throughout the duration of the project. Failure to pay village taxes, property taxes, or other government fees shall result in proceedings to revoke the certificate of occupancy for Action Behavior Center. Failure to abide by any and all terms of this ordinance shall be cause for the village to initiate hearings to determine whether the subject ordinance, as well as any applicable business licenses, should be revised or revoked. The petitioner shall pay costs related to any hearings conducted as a result of noncompliance with any of the provisions of the enabling ordinance. The cost shall include but not be limited to court reporter fees, attorney fees, and staff time required for researching and conducting said hearing. Case 2025-05 subdivision. Staff recommends that the petitioner's request for a re-subdivision of 3 lots into 2 lots that includes a dedication of varying widths of Lincoln Avenue right-of-way to IDOT be approved subject to the recommended conditions and proposed findings of fact. So for a subdivision, we only have findings of fact, so my apologies. One moment, please.
Of course.
Okay. So I'm sorry, we only have conditions. So are we good? Okay, there we go. The Wolves Plans Development Subdivision shall be effective upon its recording and the village and by the village in the office of the Recorder of Deeds of Cook County, Illinois, which is actually the Cook County Clerk these days. All monuments must be set no later than 1 year after the date of the recording of the plat. The petitioner must submit to the Planning Division electronic files of the plat of subdivision in approved and finalized form. The petitioner and future joint venture partners shall supply a written report to the village on an annual basis which provides a detailed explanation of how parking spaces are being utilized and which off-site parking spaces are used for each site. Any transfer of ownership shall include the updating of recorded covenants for off-site parking. Any future transfer of ownership will require Plan Commission review of all on-site and off-site parking, and the petitioner must comply with all federal and state statutes, laws, rules, and regulations, and all village codes, ordinances, rules, and regulations. So the final case is 2025-20P special use. Staff recommends that the petitioner's request for a special use permit to allow ground floor child and youth services use on a retail street through the mechanism of proportionate exception for 11.5% of the gross floor area of the total planned development be approved, subject to the recommended conditions and proposed findings of fact.
Okay.
So, almost done.
Okay. Almost there.
Some of these are repetitive conditions that are also part of the planned development. No certificate of occupancy for Action Behavior Center shall be issued without submission of all permit documents for the new mixed-use 6-story building. The certificate of occupancy for Action Behavior Centers is subject to revocation should the restaurant not open to the public, be open to the public and operating within 9 months of the village board approval. The residential portion of the project must be constructed and certificates of occupancy must be issued within 2 years, 24 months of village board approval, or the certificate of occupancy is revoked and Action Behavior Center must leave. Any future use of the space to be occupied by Action Behavior Center under proportionate exception must be a permitted or special use and shall not be replaced by another prohibited ground floor use on a retail street if the current proposed use, ABC, ceases operations for any amount of time. Action Behavior Center will be allowed to the use of window treatments solely to mitigate sunlight under the same conditions that I previously described. Trash recycling and composting will be required. Prior to the issuance of temporary or final certificates of occupancy, the petitioner shall provide the village copies of the active scavenger, recycling, composting, and snow removal contracts that provide for the terms enumerated in the site plan approval application. At the time of a service or change, the petitioner will provide the village the updated contract information within 30 days of such change. The expansion of the existing proportion exception will require a full review by the Plan Commission and Village Board and will not be eligible for modified review. The subject site must remain in good financial standing with the village throughout the duration of the project. Failure to pay village taxes, property taxes, or other government fees shall result in proceedings to revoke the certificate of occupancy for Action Behavior Centers. And I will now, Jose, I do apologize. I think we have to jump around on the slideshow. I will go through the findings of fact. So the proposed findings of fact for the site plan approval are that the request is in support of the land use goal of mutually beneficial use combinations that provide a net benefit to multiple community objectives. It is not anticipated that the request will adversely affect adjacent properties. Uses adjacent to the site include a mixed-use development, retail, restaurants, and an entertainment venue. Adequate public facilities, including roads, drainage, utilities, and police and fire protection currently exist or will be improved to serve the requested use. Adequate provisions for maintenance of the associated structures as demonstrated by the request, as all requirements of the village code will be expected to be upheld at all times, as the site is expected to improve stormwater management with the addition of a new underground detention system. No adverse effects on the natural environment are anticipated. It is not anticipated that the request will create undue traffic congestion as evidenced by the accepted traffic impact analysis performed by this project. Public health, safety, and welfare will not be adversely affected by the request, as the proposed improvements will activate an underutilized site. The request will conform to all applicable provisions of this code as a matter of requirement. And the additional findings for a planned development: the project enhances the downtown sector through enhanced stormwater infrastructure, retail amenities, and by bringing more housing online to contribute to the vibrancy of the corridor. The proposed planned development will not create an environment that is detrimental to the health, safety, or general welfare of persons residing within it or its vicinity, insomuch as the adopted conditions are adhered to. Moving to the findings of fact for case 2025-05P. And I need just a moment. Or I'll read them. They're right in front of me.
Okay,
Give me a minute, Paul.
sure.
Okay. Actually, these I read, so I will move on to case, that's why I didn't have them in front of me anymore. 20P, the special use permit for the proportionate exception. Okay. The request is in support of the land use goal of mutually beneficial use combinations that provide a net benefit to multiple community objectives. It is not anticipated that the request will adversely affect adjacent properties. The request is compatible insomuch as it is allowable only as a proportionate exception within a site plan approval for a planned development. Adequate public facilities, including roads, drainage, utilities, and police and fire protection currently exist to serve the requested use. The request will have adequate provisions for maintenance of the associated structures. No adverse effects on the natural environment are anticipated. It is not anticipated that the request will create undue traffic congestion, as the petitioner has entered into an agreement with another organization in the village who will provide a parking lot where Action Behavior Center staff will always park. Public health, safety, and welfare will not be adversely affected by the request, and all applicable provisions of this code are conformed to by this request. So that was a lot to hear. This is a planned development, and so that does tend to happen when we're covering a lot of ground. The petitioner will present more details about the different elements of the project. That does conclude my report, and I'm available to answer any questions.
No. Thank you, Kate. I'll entertain questions on the left side here for now.
Thank you. Turn on your microphone. This one? Oh, there you go.
So might understand, that was a lot, and we don't usually get that much. Is it because it's a split ownership? What
It
is
is-
different about this case than other cases that we usually see?
So if you would go back and look at the case that was presented in April, it actually did contain all those conditions. As a matter of fact, I was quite ill at that time, so I did not attend that hearing, and
I don't remember this one.
so
I
I don't know if all the conditions were covered, but if you make a relative comparison to some of the other large projects in the village, you will find that there are a significant amount of conditions associated with many of them. Old Orchard
Yeah.
redevelopment
Yeah.
has a number of conditions as a matter of comparison.
Okay, and then I just want to understand the split ownership piece of it.
So what you've been provided in the packet is what staff has been provided, and I've noted that we did receive a letter explaining that the Range Group was a joint venture partner. I would ask more questions of the petitioner in that regard.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Berman.
I think some of the concerns the last time this came before us was over parking, and so I have questions about, and we've had other cases more recently with parking issues and questions about using alternate lots. And are there contracts in place, or are these verbal promises that those lots can be used? And what's the fallback if those contracts are not renewed or are canceled for some reason?
I'll answer that question to the best of my ability. The applicant has provided us letters of engagement with the entities at this time, but our code does in fact require that these covenants are recorded. It is with they go against those properties as well. There would be an immediate need to find off-site parking elsewhere should any of those opportunities cease to exist.
And so a follow-up question is, the last time when we saw this case too, there was material included relative to a commitment by the restaurant, if I recall, to provide valet service on peak hours, and that was going to be available also to the neighbor, the theater, at the same time if their patrons wanted to use that. There's no reference to any of that in the current write-up. Does that still exist?
It is my understanding that that is still a service that the petitioner intends to provide. There is no formal requirement of this approval process for that to be memorialized, but I would certainly raise that question with the petitioner and his team.
Okay, and one last thing, I hate to bring a broken record, but we are serving food, so there's the requirement of the trash receptacle. as they exit the facility, and also the 4-hour requirement for policing the property? Can that be included, please, in the requirements?
Yes, it is code requirement, but we can certainly add that.
All right.
Thank you.
Entertain questions on my right?
Question about the theater parking that came up last time, where the theater owners were concerned that they had the use of this vacant lot, which of course they could not expect to use in the future, but they also had lots of municipal parking, and they were wondering at that time aloud, was there any provision for the theater to have, now that this is constructed, to have some continuing use of the municipal parking adjacent to the theater, especially that which is sectioned off for municipal vehicles?
So I might ask that, Jose, if you're able to use the laser pointer for just a minute. One of the outcomes of the Appearance Commission review of this is that on the very northernmost part of the parcel, actually right along the parking lot, Jose, so down on the bottom. There you go. That, there was always going to be a walkway there, but the Appearance Commission requested that it be improved with lighting and some public art. So they've enhanced that walkway to connect to the municipal parking that is available there.
And there was some discussion of the municipal parking, not only extending beyond the village hall and into the library parking, but also that the parking which was separated as reserved parking behind the village hall might be changed and taken away as reserved parking. Has that been considered?
I'm not aware of that particular point having been considered. But there are a number of municipal parking lots within the proximity of downtown, of which I believe you can identify on the village website.
Okay, and then one more thing, and this is consistent with the McDonald's question. What are the specific changes that are different in this proposal? Not ownership or lot subdivision or any of that. Are there any specific changes of the project, like you just designated the sidewalk being enhanced? Is there anything else that we haven't seen, that we didn't see in April, that we're seeing tonight?
There are very few, but I believe that the loading zone in the very first iteration of this was either, there may have been two. One was in a drive aisle, which was not, the village was not favorable to, so where Jose is pointing is in fact designated as a loading area. It does meet the standards of our code. It should be noted that a loading area is in fact not a requirement in a mixed-use district, but felt to be essential for such a project like this. So that is its current location.
So it's pretty much at the sidewalk and the enhanced art for the sidewalk and the loading zone.
As I understand it, I would perhaps suggest raising that question with the petitioner team as well.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? None? Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'd like the petitioner to come up and make a presentation, if they so wish. And would you give us your name?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. My name's Tyler Manick. I'm a land use attorney for the property owner. I'm joined by Katie Lambert from OKW Architects,
Okay.
Paul Leongas, who's with the property owner, and Brett Katz, the development partner.
Those in your party who wish to give testimony, can I swear them in? Would you stand up and raise your right hand? You affirm that the testimony you give tonight is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you? Yes. And Counselor, is there notice and order?
Yes, notice is proper and correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the project that we're presenting here today is going to be the identical project that was presented back in April. The only true difference is in the design is that we did create this art walkway, which we will show. When we were first here, you did hear concerns from the theater, and since that time, we've collaborated to come up with a solution that made her excited to it. So she's in support of that, just like how we told you at the last meeting where Paul did meet with all the adjacent business owners who are also excited about this project. So in reality, The only thing that's really different today is we're drawing a line, an imaginary line between the commercial building and the residential building, which we're doing that to facilitate the customary forms of financing that's unique for a commercial asset versus a residential asset and different property ownerships. So as I mentioned, it's still the exact same project. It's going to be one 6-story mixed-use building with 58 dwelling units and 1,750 square feet of cafes, ground floor cafe space. Then the former Bank of America building is going to be adaptively reused into a 2-tenant building. It's going to have Evie, a high-end Mediterranean restaurant, along the corner of Oakton and Lincoln. And it's also going to have Action Behavior Center, which you heard in a lot of those conditions, which is a preeminent national provider of applied behavior analysis therapy for children on the autism spectrum. So I'm going to turn it over because I know that, well, most of you, the commissioners are the same. There's a couple new commissioners. So Katie's going to run through the design of this project just to refresh everybody. And then we'll go get into some further details of the plat of subdivision, which is really the reason why we're back here before you.
Okay, thank you. And for record, could you give us your name, please, into the microphone?
Absolutely. Katie Lambert, partner with OKW Architects.
Thank you.
Good evening. Great to see most of you again. As Tyler said, the majority of this design is identical to what you all have previously seen, but we'll give you kind of a little bit of an overview, especially for those who were not here that night. For us, the design inspiration really all starts with the existing condition. I think that we all believe that this building at the corner that used to be a Bank of America is really a striking building, worth saving, worth breathing new life into, and that was really the impetus for the design of this project. So looking at how that lays out in site, so again, that northern building is really going to be a combination of restaurant at that hard corner of Lincoln and Oakton, ABC occupying the southern portion of the existing building, and then we're adding really this bustle on the south end of the building as an addition to accommodate ABC's full use requirements. The space between the two buildings we'll talk about in a little bit more detail, but has the ability to serve as public space for special events. And then this L-shaped building on the south end of the site forms the 6-story multifamily mixed-use building with parking at grade, lobby, and then a small retail space in orange. So this is the mixed-use building. Again, no changes to this building. We will have parking as shown underneath the building in the dark gray, surface parking behind it. You access the multifamily building either from a front door on Lincoln or from a back door that's accessible from the parking lot for residents. Elevators going up, and then we're expecting to have room for a small retailer, potentially cafe. And this is really how the upper levels shake out. Again, 58 units total, all, really pretty generously sized. This is not a building for micro units or anything like that. With another amenity space at the roof, and really what that allows you to do is kind of have these moments of public interaction throughout that building, especially by creating these intentional terraces in it. And then again, this is that northern building that'll be the combination of the restaurant at the corner, Evie, with ABC in this kind of peach color. Architecturally, again, we think that the existing building is really striking, and so we're proposing to clean it up, add some visual interest through these eyebrow canopies that you see, and then add a wood look component at the hard corner, which is where the primary entrance to Evie would be. The multifamily building beyond, really the thought again is that this feels like a cohesive campus, but doesn't necessarily have exactly the same materials replicating themselves throughout the site. They're just meant to work well together. And so the thought is that this multifamily building is actually a combination of a stucco that would be complementary to the existing stone building, and then a fiber cement that has kind of almost like a rust tone to it to give it a little bit of texture on the building. We think that downtown Skokie has a lot of existing charm, a lot of kind of mid-century interest, and you see a lot of that in the theater building. And so the design of this building is meant to evoke some of that spirit. And here's a closer look at that. And you can really, I think, start to see in this how the vertical lines of the theater building are replicated in the vertical lines of the multifamily. There's kind of this charm of the curved wall at the end that, again, it's kind of within the same spirit of Skokie, but meant to really be a building for 2025. This shows the addition of ABC on the existing building and the space that could be used for public use between them. And then this actually was one of only a couple of changes that we've made, and this was at the request of the Appearance Review Commission. They wanted to see some of this reddish copper-colored material turning down vertically, and so that was this move. And then you can see a glimpse in this view of the art walk that we were just talking about, created between the theater building and our building. And then really wanted to get to these views, which are specifically of the art walk. And so these, as Tyler mentioned, we've been collaborating with Wendy from the theater, shared these views with her, and I think she got really excited about the potential to be able to showcase local artists' work, felt like it was really complementary to their mission, and something that would be exciting to their patrons. So I think we're really excited about where this landed.
Thank you.
So Tyler Manick, once again for the record. So here's where we're getting into the new relief of why we're remanded back here. The red lines denoting where the division between the north and south lots would be. Lot 1, the north lot, would be the Bank of America building. Lot 2, the south lot, would be the multifamily building. And they'd be owned by two separate owners, although Paul Leongas here would have an interest in both of them. But because of the multifamily building being a larger project, it would be subject to a joint venture with Brett and a proven residential developer. So here's the subdivision again. We just overlaid it on top of the site plan that Katie showed you before. So here's the one issue that we wanted to discuss with the commission, and that's the timeline. When we first came before the commission back in April, there was a condition placed upon our approval that if the residential building wasn't built in 7 years, that the village could revoke the Autism Center's business license. And the 7-year timeline that was decided in that condition wasn't anything to do with our anticipated construction schedule. The 7 years was just the base term of the Autism Center's lease. So we just chose 7 years so that we could be sure that the Action Behavior Center could fulfill its mission in providing therapy services for autistic children without any interruption in those services. So that first 7-year condition wasn't a construction timeline. It was just to be consistent with the base lease term. But I know when we went to the village board, staff recommended to revise that condition to 5 years, which, you know, we weren't thrilled with, but in the spirit of cooperation, we were willing to do that because 5 years to build this project is reasonable and something that we think we could fulfill. I know that staff is now recommending a 2-year timeline, but in our minds, it's not a question of will or desire to do it. It's just not feasible. And there's a lot of variables to that because there's a good chance that you really couldn't even start construction to just before that 2-year condition. And we lay out some of the timeline here, like the six months to get the construction drawings submitted, then there's a few months for Skokie permit review. Then there becomes like the big elephant in the room is that Lincoln is a state public way. So for us to do our development and get access to Lincoln and water, we're going to need IDOT approval. And we're going to need IDOT approval because we're dedicating land to the state as well on the subdivision. So I'm not sure if you have experience with IDOT, but their review can last a year. I have clients that just to get an access permit onto a state road, it's taken them a year to get that. So there's a good chance that if that IDOT permit takes a year, we're ready to the 2 years. Our construction schedule and MWRD is several months as well. And those all happen after the Skokie approves our drawings. Our construction schedule is your standard 24 months. And then we also we put in there a 9-month contingency. I mean, I think everybody's pretty familiar with world news and kind of some federal policies that have come forward. I mean, the tariffs wreak havoc in construction costs, supply chain constraints, and capital markets as well. There's a severe labor shortage right now because of the raids. A lot of my clients' workforce is reduced by 50% because of people that aren't comfortable going to work sites at this moment. And then also we have a government shutdown, and the restaurant is going to get SBA financing, which is through the federal government, which is your traditional form of restaurant financing, and that's another kind of hurdle. So we really need a few months grace period to handle all these unprecedented disruptions in the construction industry, and we can go over more details. But for that reason, we respectfully request that this commission would approve that condition that staff proposes, but not with the 2 years, but go back with the 5 years that they presented to the village board. We think that's fair, and that's something we can do. And if it wasn't coupled with also shutting down the autism center, then we would do our best. But the fact is, we do want to protect their ongoing operations too, because we do feel like they're a very worthwhile mission. They're going to really benefit the community with that. So here's, Kate did talk about all the findings of fact, and we agree with those proposed findings of fact, but we just list some of the things that how we fulfill the comprehensive plan. I think we're going to bring a lot of economic activity to the area. We're going to be a use that is really making the street pedestrian experience active with these uses, and we're going to bring new services to the village, economic development, high-end restaurant, and a lot of new housing options. So we're very excited about this project. We've been working on the project for over a year and a half now, working through staff, and I think what we've come to and what we landed on is a great project. So with that in mind, we really thank you for having us again. We're happy to answer any questions that the commission has of us, and we're here.
Do I have any questions on my right side here? Yes, Commissioner Spire?
Can you go back to the ABC Center? Where is the entrance to that? And
I don't know how to go back.
sorry, I don't know if you need to. I guess my question is, where are people accessing that center from?
Do you want to-
Sure, absolutely. It's actually from the addition, so you can really see it in this rendering, that it would be within essentially right
Katie, could
here.
you speak into the microphone, please?
Apologies. It's on this rendering, kind of where the cursor is, right there.
Okay.
And we can also.
So not Lincoln.
It's on, it is on Lincoln.
Okay,
We'll show you in plan. Got it.
okay.
Oh,
So you're gonna, okay.
so essentially, sorry, there's actually, This will be, I think, the front door. This is those existing doors that are already in the building, but they will not be the primary entrance
So you
point.
can't, but, so you can access it through that retail parking space? Oh, yeah, where,
Through-
yeah, can you access it from there, from
There's,
that,
there's going to be
Where
a
that fire is?
staff entrance actually in the back here that's not showing up.
but
a
not
door.
for patrons?
Not for patrons.
Got
The
it.
patrons will be using the sidewalks to get to the front of the building. There'll be some informal drop-off happening along Lincoln.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, do I have more questions from the right side here?
Yes.
Mr. Black?
Good evening. I'm one of the commissioners that's new, so I hope some of my questions aren't repetitive from before, but maybe I can start with saying that when I looked at this initially, I said, oh no, that mural is going away on the north side of the theater, which I've loved for years, and I really like what you've done here. I think that's a good use that we can continue to use and enjoy the mural and have it more than that. So that's awesome. I'd like to go back to the timeline for a moment. So regarding the timeline, you talked a lot about the residential development. My experience says that what you proposed isn't unrealistic. I was very concerned when I read the documents that we received, that what was proposed was unrealistic. So somewhere in between is where we need to end up, but I don't think what you proposed was problematic. You didn't talk at all about the timeline for the other two uses at the north end, and whether or not you felt that those timelines were realistic, because those are fairly aggressive as well.
Yeah, we only talked about the residential because all the conditions were geared to the residential timeline. But the commercial timeline, because we do have locked-in tenants, it's fully financed right now. In fact, Paul does have financing to do the site work, $1.5 million worth of site work for the whole development, as well as a build-out for the commercial spaces. So those commercial spaces, those timelines,
So you're
we can
comfortable
live
with those
Yeah,
timelines
we're
for that? Okay.
comfortable with those.
Okay.
Might be also worth mentioning that construction documents have already been prepared for that first building. They're ready to be reviewed. As soon as we get village board approval, we'll be in for permit review. And the
Okay.
MWRD and the IDOT approval process is already underway related to that building.
Okay, that helps. The window treatment of the therapy gym was something that was a little surprising to me, because the way it's written up, you can draw the shade, so to speak, when the sun is shining in those windows, which is just for a handful of hours in the morning. And the rest of the day, the shades have to be up, which seems pretty surprising for that kind of use. If it's a therapy gym, you might be having children in there, whatnot, right immediately against the public sidewalk. That seems to be something that would conflict with, standard practices. How are you going to do that?
Well, that was something we spent actually a few months on with staff and Action Behavior Center. So we carefully did their floor plan so that the active uses and the non-HIPAA related or counseling services wouldn't be visible through those window areas. So we're comfortable with those window treatments. There's a letter from Action Behavior Center that in your packet that kind of goes over why they're comfortable with it.
Okay, I
Action
guess I
Behavior
didn't see
Center,
that. Yeah.
I mean, they're the preeminent national provider of that. They're all
Yeah.
over the country, so I defer to them that they know
Okay.
what they're doing when
Yeah.
it comes to that.
I just must have missed that letter in the packet. But anyway, okay, that's good to hear, that they're on board with that. I got to ask a question about exterior wall materials for a moment. In this view here, and in a couple of spots along Lincoln Avenue, it appears that you're bringing the stucco right down almost to grade. It looks like you have
You can see,
something at the maybe bottom foot and a half or 2 foot, but I'm real concerned about having stucco within reach of people. And I just don't see how it's going to be durable enough for those right up against the sidewalk locations. And would you guys consider using a material that's more durable than stucco in these particular locations right up against the sidewalk?
Yeah, we would consider it. I mean, I would say that the whole point of doing really that cast stone base was mostly to do with snow shovels,
Yep.
things that are
Yep.
truly going to be like kind of hitting
Yeah.
against the
Yeah.
building. Our recent experience with stucco, like if you look at a manufacturer like Stowe, they have a lot of different specifications, and some are like actually designed for impact resistance and might be quite appropriate, I think, to this condition.
Yeah.
I-
So that's in keeping with what I don't want to have something as beautiful as this.
Right.
Excuse me, Commissioner Black, may I remind you that the materials, I believe, still will have to be reviewed by the Appearance Commission.
Not according to those documents. It's already been approved by the Appearance Committee.
Let's go back to the Appearance Commission, is that correct?
No,
It's not going back.
No, it will not.
yeah. So that's why
Okay,
I was
I'm
bringing it
sorry.
up, because I read that it was already passed by the Appearance
Okay.
Commission. I just encourage you, I'm really concerned about making sure, if it is the stucco projects that you're talking about, which I'm familiar with, that are very, very durable, that would be one thing.
Like a
that
Stowe power wall, yeah.
I think we need something like that to maintain a beautiful facade long-term.
Yeah, I think we're happy to look into specification options and maybe even other materials at that base if it makes sense. I mean, we have the same interest. We want it to last a long time.
That was it. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Berman.
Just a question about the agreements that you have with the other property owners for parking. Who are those property owners? Where are they located? How many spaces for each one? And what is the length of those agreements?
So offhand, I do know one of them is the Ace Hardware across the street. And that's, I don't know the term of year, but it's multiple years, it's long-term. In fact, Paul's gonna repave their parking lot, because it hasn't had much upkeep in a while. The Action Behavior Center already has an agreement, a long-term agreement with, I'm trying to think of the parish.
The Catholic Church, St. Peter Catholic.
So there's, in the staff report, Commissioner Berman, there's 5035 Oakton Street, it's Ace Hardware, utilizes 8 spaces. Devar Emmett Synagogue, located 7800 Niles, has 35. And St. Peter's and Lambert Catholic Church, located 8116 Niles Center Road, utilize 20 spaces.
And we think we can stripe out that Ace for 20 too, but that's what's existing right now.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any questions from my left side? Left-
Well, a follow-up though, what is the duration of the agreements? And is there a contingency plan if they fall through?
They're year to year, but we have no reason, I mean, the parking lots have been there for a long time. We have no reason for them to not, continue with them, but the contingency would be to find new parking lots. I mean, the Skokie downtown has plentiful parking lots, but we know we can't rely upon those, so we'd have to get new agreements. We are gonna, you had the question earlier about the valet, we are gonna have valet, public valet available at all times that the restaurant is gonna be open too.
Okay, I have one, Mr. Chairman, one more
Yes.
question is, I'm curious why, if we recommended 7 years and the trustees dropped it to 5, why did staff drop it to 2?
So the 2-year term was in response to concerns from elected officials. I respectfully note that in the original proposal from the petitioner, the timeline that they provided that we have not received a update on yet, that was 2025 to 2027. Staff maintains our recommended conditions due to the significant impact this has on the downtown area and the ability to reduce that significant impact by a swift construction process. We are aware that permits can be obtained within 6 months of approval, and generally speaking, when our permits are issued, they are for a term of 18 months. For all those reasons, and particularly communication about the best interest of the village and the surrounding area, we do maintain the recommendation of a 2-year timeline for the residential portion. Might I just further state that the petitioner led this project with a prohibited use on a retail street. This whole project was led by Action Behavior Center, which is a prohibited use on a retail street. So, as it is intended to be the first element of this plan development to be operational, that raises significant concern.
Well, that was
And
going to be my other question. Why are they linked? Because it seems like the restaurant and the action facility would be fine on its own. So, but you explained that. So my other question then is, if we disagree, how do we change the years? Is it when we make a motion to accept the report with the modification of going back to 5 years? That would be, or 2 5 years? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Witry.
Thank you for the explanation on the 752, et cetera. I suspect that one of the reasons that this project needs to be completed is because we have a hole on Niles Avenue and Oakland Street, and we want to see this done. Not 5 years from now, 6 years from now. The trustees will make that determination, I presume. I have a question on the ingress and egress on Lincoln Avenue. There are now 2 curb cuts on that property, and because the residential building will permit or require that curb cut to be closed, we have 1 curb cut, and it's basically opposite the Who Modern building. Now, I'm looking at, and I can't tell you what page it is, but it's your parking with the blue, showing the blue parking, the traffic pattern.
Oh, was it one of the civil drawings, potentially?
Well, let me say this.
Got it, yeah.
My concern is that you're showing a left turn out of that onto Lincoln Avenue. And having traveled down Lincoln Avenue for 75 of my 75 years, at rush hour, that's going to be a huge impediment. And my suspicion is, I'm told that IDOT may have something to say about this. But a left turn certainly at rush hour, both in the morning and the afternoon, is just unfathomable.
Yeah, we're in the middle of the IDOT review process. We have not received any specific comments prohibiting kind of what we're proposing. But yeah, I mean, you're right. We were kind of waiting to see, basically if they had something to say. I will say, I think the project, if it were required to be a right-in, right-out, probably still works.
You can probably what?
Probably still works. I mean, the thing about this development is that the majority of people parking, on the south half of the lot are going to be people who have apartments there. And it's a relatively low turnover use, so it's not the same as like going to a grocery store and people are constantly coming in and out. And so I think that the level of traffic in general, and this is what our traffic engineer had told us, is just going to be pretty low.
Commissioner, I think
That-
we can make that as a condition. Let's say between certain hours, you can't make a left turn.
Well, that was my suggestion. I mean,
Yes.
certainly at the morning rush hour and the evening rush hour, that no left turn is permitted.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can
whether
make
that's-
that, we can make that as a condition.
I would make that a condition, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman,
Okay.
because I have traveled Lincoln Avenue at all times of the day, and that's not going to work.
You're saying left turn out?
No
Left turn out,
Left turn out of the parking, not left turn in.
correct.
Yeah.
How was it with the bank, though? The bank allowed left turn.
The bank hasn't been there for 7, 8 years, and when it was there, when they put in the ATMs, okay, you might find 2 cars over a 3-hour, 4-hour period. It wasn't used very much. The Bank of America itself didn't use that. They had too much space, and it just wasn't used. So that, I don't think that was an issue. And to compare the traffic with the Bank of America, that's been closed for 7 years, with the intensive use of traffic here is kind of a little dicey, because you've stated here that you think that the traffic now, or in the future, will be less than when, less intrusive than when the bank was there. Well, that's not so.
No, I'm saying compared to a more densely retail populated development.
Well, all right, well, the comparison should be with the bank, but that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on this side? No, none? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'll open the floor up to anyone who has a comment or question about this case. Anyone wishing to come up? Please, come up. And you will have 3 minutes to make your statement, and we'll start the clock after you give us your name.
My name is Cheryl Fergus. I'm a resident of Skokie. And the question I have is the people
Ma'am, would
using
you
AB
kindly speak
Speak
into
in-
the microphone?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
My question is the people who are using the ABC facility, are they going to be coming across Lincoln Avenue? Are they going to be doing drop-offs and blocking Lincoln Avenue to get their child into the center?
Can you answer that, or?
I would suggest the applicant answers that.
Okay.
The question is, no, they wouldn't be blocking Lincoln Avenue. They have, I think their peak hour is, between 8 and 9 a.m. for drop-off, and then, the children, they're there for multiple hours, and then they get picked up, and ABC has locations, in much denser neighborhoods, like in the city of Chicago, like in Lincoln Park or the West Loop, where they handle their traffic patterns fairly seamlessly. So they're able to stagger their, it's an appointment basis, so people aren't just doing walk-ins.
Okay. Thank you.
Just
Back to
to-
Commissioner Black.
Yeah, just to follow up with that, are you saying that the drop-off would be in the parking area on the site and not on Lincoln Avenue?
Unless Skokie gives us a loading zone there, yes, they would be internal to the site.
Okay, because I think that's what is important to answer the
Right,
question.
yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Any further questions, or anyone else in the audience? Okay, none. Counselor, would you please come back up? So you've heard all the recommended conditions and the findings of fact. Is there anything else that you have comments on or questions about from the staff?
Well, we don't have, staff and our team, we've been in communications regularly, so no questions there. They've made themselves available to us, which we're appreciative. Our only real concern on the conditions is that 2-year period, which we just don't think we can comply, and we don't want to come back here asking for an extension, because it almost feel like we'd be being disingenuous now by saying that we could meet that. I just know that we probably wouldn't even be able to break ground in that 2 years because of the delays on like IDOT
Okay,
stuff.
okay. Thank you.
I have a question of staff.
Yes.
Question of staff, I think.
Yes.
And that is, how do we reconcile this issue? Staff obviously wants 2 years and has suggested that and put it as a condition, and the petitioner wants 5 years. What has been your discussions internally, Kate, that drives you toward a 2-year timeline in spite of what the petitioner tells us about permits and financing?
I will do my best to speak on behalf of all staff that have opined on this matter,
Yes.
and it's been all departments. This is the center of town. This is Main and Main in Skokie, and many of you, I'm sure, have been involved in the process of creating mixed-use districts in downtown, of designating retail streets. You're certainly aware of the efforts to have active retail uses in the downtown. And as I expressed before, to have this project lead with a use that is not allowed on a retail street except for the proportionate exception. And the concerns about that use beginning operations on a construction site and the impacts that makes on the community, the direct impact that has on surrounding businesses. It's collectively a top priority that the project is expedited. And the 2 years is aggressive, but has the potential to be attainable.
Has the staff considered the fact that contractors now are running into supply problems, material and labor, and maybe even the weather?
Staff is not focused on anecdotal information at this point.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Berman.
I don't want to be argumentative, but it seems like that this is, you know, these folks are being quite honest and saying they don't want to have to come back and appear disingenuous now and ask for an extension. These are kind of unprecedented times in the country that, and know from other projects that we've talked about, have potential effects on timelines for construction and what have you. And it seems like a project that if staff is recommending the project go forward because I think it's viable to the village, then we should give them every opportunity to succeed. And so maybe it's not 5, maybe it's not 2. You know, I don't know if another year makes everybody happy and we do 3, but it seems like 5 based on what's going on in the world and the fact that we're still talking about this project, how many months later? When did we first? April. And, you know, no progress really has been made other than perhaps some of the construction drawings. I think we would not be being fair to this project if we discounted it to 2 years. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Commissioner Black.
I guess I would add what was just mentioned. The uncertainties in the construction arena right now are significant. The likelihood that something's going to happen, whether it be political or economical, that's going to throw in a lot of delays. There's a lot of risk out there, and 2 years is very doable for the construction. We could even push that probably, as long as we have the workforce in the Chicago area to supply it. But to think that we can get through all the permits and everything else, occupancy and everything in 2 years is, in my experience, in my opinion, unrealistic. I think 5 years with the 9-month contingency you have in the end is generous, but it's not unrealistic. The question is, do we want to push some on the 5 years, and is there something the developer thinks they can do or commit to trying to improve on that 5 years? You know, it's a question, but that's, I guess, what I
Are you
wanted to say.
proposing any time limit, or do you have a time limit in mind, kind of an arbitrary time limit, or?
If I were putting this together, I think the time limit of somewhere between 4.5 and 5 years is appropriate for this project, given the conditions that we have right now in the economy and business and construction industry in particular. I think that's more realistic.
Okay,
Can I ask a
thank you.
question?
Yes, Commissioner Givyahu?
I don't, I'm speaking from inexperience, but is there a way to set the time limit that the clock starts ticking once they receive all their permits? So that it's 2 years when they get their approvals from IDOT and MWRD? Is there a way to do that? It's a little bit contingent on, but I don't know the.
Well, I think if the time is extended, I think that'd be already built in. Do you know what I mean? I mean, from the time they get their permits, I think, you know, if the time is extended, I think it would be doable.
Can
Yes,
you put your timeline back up on the screen so that we can sort of see what we're?
And I'd like to also, I'm sorry, I'm doing that, I'm trying to find. I'd like to mention, like, we all have the same goal, to build this. Like, we're not asking for the more time because we want to sit on our hands for a little bit.
Costs too much to do that.
Yeah, he owns it, he's paying, you know, carrying costs on this.
Yeah.
He wants to build this.
If I might add, it seems like the last comment by the commissioner to put the burden on government seems like a good idea. We then are pushing all the government approvals, not only Skokie, but MWRD and IDOT, to comply and move this along, and then we add the construction and financing after that.
yes.
So I sort of like that as a possible compromise. Not necessarily 5 years, but so many years after all government approvals.
Right, if you, I mean, you guys have 24 months as your construction timeline, so if we were to just say 24 months plus, or 24 months from MWRD and IDOT approval, would that be,
And Skokie, all of
and so all approval, would that be feasible?
Well, I know one thing that was concerned is like the impact on construction taking a long time in the surrounding area. That's, I mean, most of this timeline's not construction activities. Most of this timeline's everything else.
So you've already done construction on the other piece, so then
Correct.
we're just, so then the impact to downtown is still in play. It still exists during that time, so I get that.
Well, you're gonna have an operating you're gonna have a high-end restaurant in this autism center operating, so.
Yeah, this is just, remember, this is just for the residential portion.
Yeah.
Right, I
Yeah.
understand, but once you've started,
Get the ball rolling, you said.
yeah, once you already do the construction.
I'm sorry,
Commissioner Berman?
I'd just like to make a motion that we approve the plan as presented with the modification that we move it to what was really proposed as a compromise by the village board of 5 years. And we don't play around with fancy math and things like that and put an extra burden on everybody is as if they're being honest about what they think it might take, and this is unprecedented times, and everybody's complaining about a lack of workforce. And so why would we not do that? We thought originally 7 years was fine. No one balked at that last spring. So I'd like to make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. As a motion, and did you, Commissioner Woodtree, would you want to add any?
Wait, there's
restrict-
three,
I'm
there's
sorry.
3 cases, so which, are we on site
That-
plan
this is on
approval?
the site plan approval,
Site plan approval,
yes.
okay.
Did you want to add anything about the turning lanes, I mean, the right turn, left turn?
Amend the staff report to include no left turn.
Well, you would add to Commissioner Berman's,
Oh.
I'm just asking if you want to add to that.
I'd like to amend my amended motion.
Yes.
To require no left turn at rush hour in the morning.
In rush
and
hour.
rush hour in the afternoon.
Commissioner Berman, are you agreeable with that?
I'm amenable to that, assuming
Okay.
that the
And Dick,
commissioner has no argument.
Was that no left turn only outbound or also from Lincoln Avenue?
Outbound.
Outbound.
And is that likewise on Oakton? Or
No,
just
no,
Lincoln?
Just Lincoln Avenue,
Yeah, during rush hour, morning and evening.
correct.
Okay, all right. Wait, a second? Okay, second that. Okay, I'll move for a vote on the site plan approved, case 2025-04P, with the correction for the 71 parking spaces instead of 41, going back to the 5-year build timeline, and for the restricted left-hand turn during rush hour, morning and afternoon, or evening. You have a second? Call for the vote. Commissioner Spear? Okay, Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Commissioner Scott Berman?
Aye.
Commissioner Franklin is absent. Commissioner Giviahu?
Aye.
Commissioner Witry?
I'm deferring to Commissioner Black's expertise here. I concur.
Thank you. Commissioner Jeff Berman?
I vote aye.
And Commissioner Matei is absent, and I'll vote aye. Okay. Da-da-da. Da-da-da. Okay, we got the changes in there? Okay. All right. On the subdivision case 2025-05P, do I have a motion to approve? Commissioner Giviahu? And second,
Second.
it was a tie.
Choose which way, Paul, right or left.
Let's go with Commissioner
Go right,
Black.
Paul.
Commissioner Black. It's okay. Call for the vote. Commissioner Spear?
Aye.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Commissioner Berman?
Aye.
Commissioner Giviahu?
Aye.
Commissioner Witry?
Aye.
Commissioner Jeff Berman?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. Thank you. And on the special use permit for the behavioral center, or the behavioral unit of the project, the child care, or, move this,
To approve.
who has a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Da-da-da-da-da, I'll call for the vote. Commissioner Spear?
Aye.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Commissioner Scott Berman?
Aye.
Commissioner Giviahu?
Aye.
Commissioner Witry?
Aye.
Commissioner Jeff Berman?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. Okay, these cases still have to go before the Board of Trustees for final approval. They meet on the first and third Monday of every month, and you'll all be notified when that goes before the board. I wish you luck with the project, and finally, we're starting to move ahead on this. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a good holiday. Any other business before the board?
Final public comment.
Yes, before we open for public comment.
Just a quick update for the commissioners that we do have matters to be heard at the November 20th meeting. And at this time, I believe we will, for sure, we have no cases going before the commission at the first meeting in December, and I expect that we will not at the second meeting as well, but I will give you a final update at our next meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
So our next meeting is
November 20th.
That will work, but we don't know about December.
Correct.
The second meeting in December is officially unknown, but it does not appear at this time we'll have matters move forward.
We are meeting.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you for the update. At this time, is there anybody in the audience who should come up and make a comment for the record? No public comment? Not seeing any? Okay.
I think Mr. Burdine may have a comment or two. Is that right, Mr. Burdine?
I'm going home now.
Thank you. All right, well, this meeting is closed then. Thank you very much for attending.